Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us early. We're up early because of this breaking news and a developing story here in New York City. There's been a terror scare in Times Square as police find a car packed with explosive devices in the heart of New York City.
Yeah, thousands of people were evacuated. A lot of people were in shows last night. They had to cancel shows in the middle of them. Streets were closed. Local police and federal officials still searching this morning for who's responsible.
David Lee Miller is live in Times Square with us this morning. David Lee, what do we know at this point? Clearly, the best news is no injuries. This thing did not explode, but how's the investigation going?
That's right. Incredibly, it did not explode, although the device, we are told, actually began to detonate. But as you mentioned, many New Yorkers this morning are breathing a sigh of relief. It has been a very long night here in Times Square, not just for New Yorkers, but also for the many tourists who could not return to their hotels. The most recent thing to happen this morning, just a short time ago, and we have some tape of this, the vehicle, it began to smoke. This device has now been taken to a police lab where an investigation is going to continue. The incident took place at about 6:30 last night. That's when an alert T-shirt vendor brought the vehicle to the attention of police after he noticed it was spewing smoke. The area was immediately cleared, and at that point the bomb squad was brought in. A robotic arm smashed the window of the vehicle. Bomb squad officers in protective gear were able to remove the device from the vehicle. Mayor Bloomberg was at the Correspondents' Dinner in Washington. He left early. Here's what he had to say.
Consumer-grade fireworks that you can buy in Pennsylvania and drive into New York, and the wiring was nothing that looked amateurish, I think is a nice way to phrase it.
Now, that's Mayor Bloomberg describing the contents of the bomb. It contained what he described as amateurish components, fireworks that you could buy from a nearby state. He also said inside were propane tanks, gasoline containers, and 2 clocks, as well as electrical wiring and other components that could have been used to make a bomb. New York's police commissioner said that had it gone off, there would have been a huge fireball. And at this hour, a massive investigation is underway. What's unclear is who placed the device here. The authorities have traced the license plates to the vehicle. They came back to a truck owner in the state of Connecticut who says he removed the plates from a truck. The vehicle was not his, and sent them to a junkyard. Someone retrieved them, obviously, and placed them on this particular vehicle. And lastly, one thing of note here suggesting that the people behind this may have been a little more sophisticated, even though the explosives were rather crude. They did remove from the car the vehicle identification number, the VIN number that would identify who owned that car. Now, many of these vehicles also have more than one VIN number, some of them in secret locations, and you can believe this morning that's one of the things the authorities are going to be looking at, who owned this vehicle and how it got where it was. Another thing they're looking at, of course, surveillance tape that has been recorded overnight. Getting access to that tape, not very easy because this took place on a weekend, but that is also part of the process as authorities try to figure out who was behind this failed, what the governor of New York has called, terrorist act. Back to you.
David Lee, we were understanding, too, that this guy, apparently, maybe one guy, maybe multiple people, we're not really sure, but some people, eyewitnesses, may have seen somebody trying to detonate this, get a little nervous, and then take off running. Is that what you're hearing, too? What do we know about the person who may have tried to detonate this thing?
It's not entirely clear if this was one person, more than one person, perhaps what could be the most significant development here. And what's also interesting here is the timing, is that at about 6:28, a surveillance camera recorded this vehicle moving on 45th Street. That is the street behind me where this car bomb was placed. Only about 6 minutes later, that's when a T-shirt vendor alerted police to the fact that this vehicle was smoking. So in this approximate 6-minute time frame, someone moved the car into place and left. At this time, to answer your question, we do not know of anyone who saw the driver or the occupants of the car running from the scene. No one has been officially identified. But again, of course, that is obviously part of this ongoing investigation. Police looking for eyewitness accounts. Back to you.
And David Lee, did the commissioner say anything about how this crude device may suggest what kind of terrorism this is or who perpetrated this? Are they thinking domestic? Are they thinking international at this hour?
I did not hear Police Commissioner Ray Kelly talk to what type of group may have been behind this, but experts are now suggesting that the type of device this was not consistent with what you would see from foreign terrorists. Now, it's still very early in the game to say something like that, but if you look at the type of explosives that say Najibullah Zazi, he's the man from Denver who was recently pled guilty to terror-related charges. He was using very different explosives, TATP, far more sophisticated, far more powerful. That's the type of explosives that Al-Qaeda would be drawn to. This, as the mayor suggests, was far more amateurish, but then again, we don't know if this was a lone wolf operating, trying to appease his overseas operators, or whether this was nothing more than a kook with just the desire to create havoc in New York Times Square. We do not have a motive. Allison?
Yeah, a police source told the New York Daily News the death toll could have been, quote, enormous had this thing gone off, but another police source said it actually wouldn't have exploded. It wasn't that type of device to cause an explosion. We'll have to learn more about that this morning, but we lost something you said Oh, go ahead, David, go ahead.
I was just going to say to you, according to the reports that I have heard, this device did not contain shrapnel. Oftentimes when there's a device by foreign terrorists, it contains ball bearings, nails inside, other pieces of metal that when the device explodes would cause considerable harm. As best we understand, this was not the case here. What we would have had, as the police commissioner has said, is a huge fireball, but that too could have been extremely deadly, especially in Times Square, 6:30 in the evening, the crossroads of the world, one of the busiest locations in New York City at one of the busiest times of the day. Hundreds, if not thousands, could have been hurt depending on where they were in proximity to this car. Back to you.
Yeah, David Lee, you make such a great point. It was a beautiful night last night. It was a beautiful night. So many people were there. It was packed. We saw just on our show yesterday how many people turned out on our square. It was the first really warm, beautiful spring day. It would have been devastating.
Absolutely. And I believe, David Lee, stand by just a